a wonderful episode. We're doing game dev for Demergo Studios for the game we're working on. I'm Todd, and we are going to be working on more story today. Another wonderful, exciting foray into our story, kind of the beginning portion, and we're going to kind of flesh out, I think, finish fleshing out this beginning portion of the story that we started in the last video. And then once we have that kind of fleshed out, start talking a little bit more about our transition from this sort of beginning portion of our story into the gameplay itself, and kind of maybe get started on some of the stories for the other worlds. I don't want to focus too much on story. I don't want to get off too much on a rabbit trail of doing stories for everything. Because I want to let that kind of evolve as the game goes along. But I do want to establish kind of a good core for the beginning world for this first start. And then I can have that built out. Maybe if we're lucky and we have some time, I might get into a little bit of storyboarding too for some of these first parts. Just get some rough drawings. I'm certainly not an artist, so it's going to be quite exciting if we do get into that to see how those beautiful stick figures turn out. But we will see what time allows. Anyways, let's get started. Going back to our pages doc here where we left off. So just a quick overcap to help get me in mind and the thinking process of this. So our core, let's go back to our folder, our main premise. So let's talk about this again real quick. Our main premise is and we can fix my wonderful spelling mistakes too. It looks like you can show your doc in full screen. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so we start off with the main premise. Your grandpa is the head of your tribe of gophers. His 80th birthday is approaching, and it's a huge accomplishment as he is the first tribe leader to ever reach this milestone. Your grandpa has asked you to go spread the word of his birthday celebration. Maybe I should say, his birthday celebration and gather up the extended family. So that's kind of our core story going forward. Maybe we should add on a little bit to that main premise here. During your adventures, the family, you soon discover a sinister plot to unseat Grandpa from his rightful position. I'm not sure if I really like that, but that's that is a kind of a core part of this main premise. Is along the way you learn things about your grandpa, about your parents, because you don't know your parents. A little background: you were raised by your grandparents. You have no idea what happened to your parents or why they're not around. You are not very familiar with your extended relatives. That's a good point. I should probably turn my notifications. You're not very familiar with your extended relatives, so you're not really sure what they're going to be like when you meet them, or how you're going to interact with them. Yeah. One thing I'm toying around with is the idea that proper introduction to your relatives require wearing the correct outfits. So let's say you go to visit your relatives in the icy world region or whatever, the frozen mountains or something like that. They're going to, if you just go there without any sort of without the proper attire, they won't recognize you as being family or something like that. Some way to recognize you as family. And the reason for this being is it's a different way of unlocking the world. So you can visit the world, but you can't actually collect any of the gophers there because they just hide on you. When they see you coming, they hide because they don't know who you are. So it's an interesting thought. I'm not certain of that yet, but it's an interesting thought. So maybe a little background. Your relatives won't recognize the proper clothing or badge or something. Maybe you got to call. I don't know. We're making this up as we go. Yeah, that's just how it is. Main story arc is gather up all your extended family for the celebration. A member of the extended family wants to take over as tribe leader and kill your grandpa at his 80th birthday celebration. You have to find out which relative or relatives which relatives wants to, but which relatives are involved with this plot, and stop them or help them. Stop them or yep, that sounds about right. Alright, so let's go back to our timeline. Let's add to Demergo Studios. Go for Alright. So now we're going to this timeline. So this is where the game first starts off. We want to introduce you to the main characters. We want to introduce you to the emotion, the story. Like I said in the last video, I want to create kind of a bond between you and your grandpa, but also I want it to be emotional with your grandma as well. So as we go through this, we'll talk a little bit about it again. Reviewing, this is a good review for me, as it's been a couple days since we did this last, so it'll be good to remind myself as well. So Grandpa's 60th birthday. So these are going to be snapshot events. So the idea is that they're like, a good example would be Pixar's Up. At the beginning of that video, you see little snapshots into the person, into their lives. They're little animation clips or whatever, but they help build an emotional connection. You feel like you've been with them their whole lives after 60 seconds. It was an amazing accomplishment by Pixar, and I'm not Pixar, so I'm not going to be as amazing or as good at it as they were, but I'm going to try. So that's what these kind of are, snapshots. So what I'm trying to do is, because it's his 80th celebration, I want to do snapshots at his birthdays, starting when you were born, the main character, player character was born, up until his 80th birthday, this big accomplishment. So we start off at his 60th birthday, because we don't want you to be too old, when you get to that point. So you'll be, 20, 21 years old, I guess. We could argue gopher years versus human years, but these are humanized gophers. That's what we're going for. Kind of like Donkey Kong with humanized gorillas and apes. I think there's various types of monkeys in that game, quite honestly. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're going for, is this humanizing aspect. It's just kind of a common theme. We get that familiarity of the human side, but we also get the fun aspect, that ability to have different abilities from the animal side of things. So for gophers here, one of our abilities will be digging underground, and that'll be a way to help you solve puzzles and various other things. I haven't figured out quite all the abilities yet, but that's kind of the idea behind the gophers here for right now. So your grandpa's 60th birthday, what's going on is you're just a little baby at this point. He's holding you in his arms, rocking you back and forth in front of a fireplace with grandma sitting there doing some knitting and looking on at the two of you bonding. Grandpa's 63rd birthday, you're a little older now. You're about, 4 years old, maybe 3, 4, somewhere in there. You're on the floor playing, with with blocks or a truck or a car. Maybe I was thinking a car or some sort of a wheeled vehicle. We could go a little more Gopher-esque. Maybe you're chewing on some sticks or something. I don't know. I guess that would be a beaver. But I really am just going off the top of my head with most of this stuff. But at the same time, I do some research. I did a lot of Gopher research before this, but would require additional research later on. But so some sort of a truck, and I'm thinking that truck will also be some sort of a lore style thing later on. That later on in life you'll run across this truck that you used to play with when you were a kid. Somehow it ended up in one of your relatives' hands, or maybe even better. Oh, I like this even better. Is that you run into those same trucks, maybe or cars or whatever, different colored in the different worlds. And you come to find out that maybe your mother or your dad or both of them built these trucks together, and they were spread out through the family. They were built as like sort of gifts, and you were given one. You were given the last one by your parents that they ever made. But as you run across these little trinkets in the other worlds, you create this. This was a piece of my mom and dad that I never knew about. That's a really cool idea. I like it. I'm gonna write that down right now because I will forget it. Trying to think of where I want to write this down. More. Oh yes, that's what I want to do. Ideas for lore. Now write something brilliant. That's what I'm going to do. At least it feels brilliant right now. I guess we'll find out if it's really brilliant later on. You find similar trucks / cars in the other worlds. And isn't it so exciting watching me write things down? But you get to hear me talk about them and get excited about them. You find some of the trucks and cars in other worlds, and you eventually discover they were originally handmade by your parents, and given as gifts to you and then family member. To maybe even, given as gifts to the children of its family, or given as gifts to the nephews of your extended family. Sure. Kind of the idea of birth gifts, like gifts marking a newborn family. So that kind of a thing. Maybe it was just this traditional gift that you always got this handmade item. Maybe for guys it was a truck, maybe for girls it was like a doll or something like that. But again, it's not so much about the thing that was given as it is about the reason behind it, the why. Why was it given? What emotion can we add to that gift? And that's why I think this was great. Again, these are parents you never met, and as you find each one of these trinkets, it's again a little piece, a little insight into what your parents were about, how your parents thought, and just the act of them giving these gifts at every newborn shows that your parents loved their extended family, were concerned about them, cared for them, and that they were excited for these big events. And what happened to them? Again, where did they go? I don't know either, so there's not some big secret I'm holding back yet. I have no idea. We're making this up as we go. Again, welcome to game dev. You make it up as you go. Not always, but oftentimes. So that's cool. All right, we've got that. We'll add that to another folder again. Gophers. And then we'll go back. Hopefully, I really like that back button. If you work for Dropbox on this paper project, that's an awesome back button. Keep it. I like that a lot. Now, if only there's a forward button. I know. All right, so we're back here. So you're on the floor, and this is why we review, because we think of other cool things to add. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where there's so much stuff we have to cut it out, but we're not there just yet. So 63rd birthday comes along, and again, the fireplace is in the background. We talked about this last time. The fireplace is actually the fireplace, and specifically the firewood is signifying various times in your grandparents' lives. So at his 60th birthday, the fire is blazing, the wood is full, it's a happy, joyous time in their lives. 63rd birthday, fire's gone down a little bit. Wood is starting to empty out, but it's still joyous. The father, your grandpa, is on the floor playing with trucks. Your grandma's, as I said, maybe is in the kitchen. Maybe we could do something visible to where she's not in the best of health. Maybe she trips or something, some sort of an animation to show that your grandma is possibly could have something wrong. So maybe some sort of animation to show grandma is not feeling well. Just again, a subtle hint. 66th birthday, grandpa's in his chair with his head down, and you're nearby him. You're 7 years old at this time, and you're sitting there saying, grandpa, what's wrong? And this could be just a quick scene, a very, very quick scene of flashes on screen, grandpa's in his chair, head down. Again, I'm not trying to go, this is the other problem is, so I have this idea of, grandpa's sitting in his chair, his head's down. I have no idea what art style I'm going to go with yet for this game. I had some ideas of doing like a lineless, really kind of a cool cartoony style. Then I thought, well, maybe I want to go simple Angry Bird style where the characters are just circles with heads on, just that's the head. But it's hard to, you can show emotion, you can show a lot of emotion through the face, and that's maybe what I'll go with, is just the simple circles with the facial expressions to show that emotion. Maybe that's what I really want to do, what I'll really go towards. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I have no idea. I do like that, though. If I harken back to Chris Crawford's speech, he talks a lot about facial expression being a very important part of emotion. And I know that, but just hearing someone else say that really reinforces it. So maybe I do want to stick with just that and emphasize the facial expressions and the facial emotions on these essentially circular blob gopher things. I don't know. Who knows? I haven't decided yet. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. It's from Stargate SG-1. But anyways, so Grandpa's 60th birthday, his head is bowed down. He's in sorrow, and we see you up there trying to comfort him. Concerned, trying to comfort, and the fire. The fire has gone out, and the firewood is empty, and something's up. Like just a quick look, and you're just like, well, what happened? It starts getting you involved. This is one of the things I said in my blog post about trying to get the player's imagination involved in your game. Boom, flashes on screen. What happened? And suddenly the player's sitting here racing through their mind, what happened? What occurred that I don't know about yet? Or did I miss something? But again, we don't want them to think that they really did miss something, So then the next scene we immediately show his 67th birthday, where you're both at your grandma's grave site, and he's looking. Again, this is the clear communication of, oh, she passed away. It's that recognition of something bad did happen. I didn't miss something, but this is what it was that I did miss, that she did die. And hopefully there won't be a lot of questions as to why she died. There probably will be, but hopefully not, because it's just she's a grandma, your grandpa. They're at that age. 80 years old, 90s. I guess people are living pretty long these days, but again, this is a game. Some things can be left to the imagination, and some things don't always have to be realistic. So again, we're back at the gravesite, and this is where my idea was, maybe you get the lighter, maybe your grandma's favorite lighter that she always lit the stove with, because I'm thinking that this is not going to be like a modern day tale, so there's no electric ovens or anything like that. Maybe we'll do all lanterns and fire and all that, so that maybe this is your grandma. Again, then you could ask, well, why is there a lighter? I don't know. Maybe it's her favorite flint and I don't know, her favorite magnesium stick. Who knows? But anyway, so you get this thing from your grandma, this token, this memento, this lighter, and really what I want to establish with this particular point is that you get this lighter. It's going to stick with you. It's going to be something that you use along your journey throughout all the worlds. And it's given to you, and it's special. It's important. Maybe you lose it at some point in the game, and you gotta chase it, or chase after it, or someone takes it, steals it from you. And that's another part of the game where suddenly this memento of your grandma, and that's one of those things that I really want to also build into this game a little bit too. Is maybe while you're venturing these worlds, maybe I'll just have like a random timer set, in the game, say, after the user has been playing for 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that, not consecutive, just totality, the game will just shake or stop. And I don't even, just stop. You'll just stop and you'll sit down and you'll grab it out. Or maybe it'll just be an idle animation. I don't know. You'll grab and look at your lighter, and maybe like little bubbles will pop up with players ahead, and you'll see he's thinking about his grandma. A way to build that emotional connection to her. That this is important, that it's a good reminder. Maybe not just your grandma shows up in that picture, but your grandma and your grandpa together happy. I don't know. It's just, but it is something I want to kind of build into that game. So, moving on. Actually, I'm going to write that down too. See, this is how things come up. Turn this into bullet points. Oops. Some will stop and it is grandma's. And again, I use lighter here. It could be some other token, but at this second, I'm just going to go with lighter. Look at this grandma's lighter. Here's grandma. And this could just be a recurring theme throughout the game. Every 10 minutes, or every random point between 10 and 20 minutes, he'll stop and look at it and think of his, maybe one scene, one time it'll be his grandma, maybe the next time it'll be both his grandma and his grandpa doing, maybe another time it'll just be his grandma and grandpa doing something silly or funny together, Because it doesn't necessarily always have to be associated with the lighter. The lighter itself just triggers a memory of a fun time with your grandma and grandpa. So, again, I want to build a lot of emotion into this game. Because that's, it's a mobile game. But at the same time, I want the player to be able to feel some sort of a connection. I want them to have fun. I want it to be great gameplay. but I also want to tell a good story, and I want this to be an adventure. And part of adventure is emotions and connections. What makes an adventure fun isn't just speed and running and gunning, but it's the why behind it, the emotions, the emotional responses to events during that adventure. And so I want to build a lot of that into this. So again, we're working on that. Go back to our timelines here. We haven't gotten to the rest of our timeline. It's already been, I don't even know how long, but long enough. So 67th birthday, you get the lighter, and your grandpa's clearly struggling, but a little less. And it communicates that your grandma has passed away clearly. 70th birthday comes along. All right, now this is your first opportunity to interact with the game. So we're not certain what happens between his 67th birthday and his 70th birthday that gets him kind of up and ready to go again. Maybe that's part of lore later on, Maybe I need to write that down too. Let's read the question. Question: Why his why grandpa into and maybe it's not, and maybe the answer to that question, I don't know the answer to that question at this second, but maybe, just hypothesis, maybe the answer to that question isn't the fact that he got over her death or moved past it so much as he just learned to accept it, and he found ways of channeling that sorrow or that emptiness into something else. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. Again, we're making a game. This is what it's all about. We learn as we go. We explore as we go. And maybe this isn't the most riveting story. Maybe people are balking at me saying this is a terrible story. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. We've got time to come back. Game development's an iterative process. I'm just trying to start the wheels of the emotions, the wheels of the story. This is really early on. This is the start of it all. I have no idea how long this game will take to make, but we're going to keep going. So, Grandpa's 70th birthday, the idea he's out cutting down a tree. Get more firewood. He cuts a tree down, it collapses, and then a bunch of logs pop out around there. And you have a little cart thing that follows around. So if you haven't been joining us at this point, the gameplay, one of the core gameplay mechanic for this game is you use your finger and you drag it around the screen, and your player follows the dragging. It's almost like you stuck to the tip of your finger, and then I'm combining a little bit of like the snake aspect. So you go and you collect your extended family. So you go and collect other gophers, and they follow you around kind of in a trail. So it adds a little bit of a difficulty to it. And, maybe we'll decide later on that's a bad idea. But so I want to teach the player about this potential trail that could follow them early on by putting a little cart behind their gopher that he collects the logs into. And he's only going to be able to collect like 2 logs into it. Because I want him to collect logs, and once he's got 2 logs, Grandpa will say, "Oh, that's enough. That's enough for right," or something like, "Oh, you're full, or your cart's all full. Let's go. Let me show you where to put it inside," or something like that. And then you can use your finger to drag and go inside. The other thing it's showing is that you can go into buildings. That's the other key it's showing. Not only can you drag to pick things up, and they go in your cart, so you have a little cart behind you, but and maybe that I should communicate that right now. You as a gopher, you go up to get a log, and Grandpa says, "Hey, why are you trying to? You're not going to be able to carry that much with just your arms. Go get the wagon," and so you got to drag over and pick up the wagon first, or whatever, and then go collect a couple logs and bring it back in. But either way, he's going to say, "Hey, bring it inside," and he's going to teach you how to go in. That you can go into buildings, and then once inside, we're going to have you bring it up and essentially just run into the log holder thing, the log holder area. And so it fills up with logs, and then Grandpa will be like, "Hey, looks like you got that full. Why don't you run out and collect a few more so we can start the fire?" So you run back outside and collect a few more, bring them back inside, and then you put them into the fireplace. Again, we want to be able to. We don't want the player to feel like they're an idiot, but we also want them to be able to do it without necessarily saying, "Hey, go do this" or "Go do that." You know, sometimes it will be that case, but for right now, we're just going to leave it where it is, and you can come back and iterate on that later. So you go and you grab and you bring him into the fire, and then he'll be like, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and light that fire for us?" You know, and oh, okay, I got that lighter. Let me. You know, I'm not sure how inventory systems are going to work, even if there's going to be an inventory system, or maybe, you know, it'll just be automatic. You go up and you run into it, and then it'll, you know, play a little animation that shows him pulling his lighter out of the pocket and lighting the fire and putting it back in or something. I don't know. You know, maybe that's all it will be. We'll find out. So now we're on to the 75th birthday. This one I wasn't exactly sure what to do about when we last left off, but we're going to find out right now. So let's get to writing some more story ideas. So one of the ideas I did have for this section was at 75th birthday, so you're, 15, 16 years old, and now we're going to make you choose between doing something with your friends and doing something with your grandpa. And so I talked last stream about possibly having this impact the amount of essentially behind the scenes there'd be like a meter, a percentage meter, where the farther you lean towards, you know, left or right, you know, farther lean towards the right, the less your grandpa tells you about your parents because you haven't chosen to be close to him, versus the farther to the left, the more he tells you. And when I'm talking about the more he tells you versus less, I'm not talking about cutscenes and stuff like that. I'm talking about just random dialogue that appears that you can read or you can choose not to read, that you can choose to invest time into or not. You know, I want the player to be able to decide, do I want to spend time learning about this world or not? I don't want to force the player. I want, you know, one of the big things I learned doing all my design research was when I first started off building this game, it was, as a good friend of mine says, it was a maze. That's what it was. And you can see some of the early screenshots of that. I essentially had the player going around unlocking rooms to get out of this maze, and it was, I want it to be free roaming. I want it to be, I don't want to say branching, but that's essentially what I'm going for. Thankfully, I'm not going to go with branching dialogue and lots of crazy stuff like that because I don't have the time to do that. I'm not trying to build a 4-year project here, although it might end up being that. But I am trying to, because I want to get the game out in a reasonable amount of time. But I do want to create something that is strong enough to stand on its own. That is one thing I wasn't the most happy about with the first game. I was just super happy when we launched Function Repair Fixed Bot. Super happy when we launched that. We worked so hard for it. But we had to cut so much. And it was just because of time. You know, we were kids. We were college students. And we just all graduated from college, or at least most of us had. And we were broke, and we were just trying to get the thing out the door. And we did. We got it out the door, and it was great, and it was good. But that is, you know, we would have liked to have added more depth to that story. We would like to have gone into more details with the characters. But we were just happy we got a 10-level game out that was fun to play. So I want to not make that mistake with this game, and I want to focus a little bit more heavy on the story and the adventure aspect. So, and part of the adventure aspect comes with the story too. So I want to start the story off right so we can get into some good adventures. So I'm thinking that maybe the player will start off inside the grandparents' home. Maybe Grandpa will be out chopping some more firewood or something like that, and you'll see off-screen bubble come on that says from your grandpa or whatever, and and maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll style the bubbles based on who's speaking, and say, hey, can you come help me with something? Or maybe we'll start outside. Maybe you'll start out in the front yard. Maybe you can push like a little soccer ball thing around the yard or something. Something fun like that. That'd be kind of cool actually to be able to push this soccer ball around like a little gated area or something like that, or just push it around wherever you want. Yeah, so we've got that. just playing around, and your friends say, "Hey, come play soccer with us," or whatever like that, And it's not going to actually let you go and do this or that, but it is giving you this choice of going towards your friends or going inside the house to help your grandpa type of an idea, you know. And maybe we'll make mini games out of it. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Um, maybe not. I don't know. I don't really want to get into the habit of making one-off mini games, but at the same time, I don't want to make mini games that are continuously repetitive. So anyway, so something like that. The idea of, so maybe we'll start there. We'll just say, Grandpa is inside. Is inside the house, working on something. You are outside playing with a soccer ball. All the Europeans will yell at me because it's football. But playing outside with soccer ball. The reason for the soccer ball is because you can move your character around and bump into it and it'll go places. You got basketball, you kind of got to dribble, and volleyball. All these other football. It's soccer ball is just the easiest to implement. At the second, playing with the soccer ball. Here, Grandpa calls for you, and maybe that's right. Maybe you do. Maybe. Oh, I like that. So you can go play with your friends, right? And then the cutscene just ends when you leave your house to go play with your friends. Cutscene ends. Or you can go inside to your grandpa, and you go inside, and he's got tools. He's asking you to get tools from his tool chest, which is on the other side of the room, because or maybe you have to go explore the house and find a certain tool or something in the house. I've been looking for this screwdriver, can't find it anywhere. I don't know where I put it. Can you go help me find it? And you start looking around. Maybe we can even have him do some sort of like randomized go look around, or even a pathing, and start going to rooms looking like he's actually looking to, or something like that. But just so you don't feel, that is one of the things that always annoys me is, hey, can you find something for me? Or maybe he's stuck under this sink or something. I don't know. But anyways, the reason I get in this little tangent is because maybe when you go inside, then he starts working on this stuff. You go get it for him, he starts working, and he starts telling you a little bit about your parents, or gives you some sort of piece of lore just for being willing to bond with him a little closer, bonding with him. So, Grandpa is inside the house working on something. You're outside playing with soccer ball. Grandpa calls for you to come help him with something inside. But a few seconds. Or maybe even better. No, this is even better. Even better. Friends come along and ask you to come play soccer with them. Or maybe just come play some games with them. Come play games with them. And as soon as friends finish, help it. So what are we trying to get across with this? Well, we're trying to get across that the player does have a choice. So player does have a choice at certain points in the game. Okay? Communicating that. Second, player choose to develop a closer relationship with his grandpa, or create distance. Player, if, okay, so these are some of the goals. That's really it. And also, player can look around the inside, and maybe that's perfect. So, so, so yes, I like that a lot. So, instead of your grandpa yelling, "Hey, can you come help me?" your grandpa yells, "Hey, can you come help me find this screwdriver I'm looking for? Come help me find the flathead screwdriver. Can't find it anywhere." And you have a choice now. You can go play with your friends, or you can go help your grandpa. Um, maybe we'll have, after your grandpa calls, we'll have your friends say, "You should really come play with us," or something like that. Just as that's what friends would do, is say, no, forget your grandpa, come play with us. That's what friends would usually do. The bad friends, I guess. Um, so anyway, so really that creating that that torn, that indecisiveness within the player of what should I do. And if you go into the house, let's say you choose not to help your grandpa, then later on down the road, when your grandpa's 80th birthday comes and you're sent on your quest, you can actually go back into your house and you'll see that screwdriver still sitting in the same place. He never found it, and that creates that crap. He never did find that screwdriver. Maybe a little bit of create a little bit of sorrow, a little bit. I don't know if it will or won't, but that cool idea. I kind of like that. Um, so that's kind of the point of this, is creating a little bit of a distance. I want to do one more interaction with your grandpa. Before I let the player free roam. So I'm thinking maybe 77th or 70th birthday. I'm not sure what that interaction is going to be yet. Um, you know, Obviously, if it's another thing to help your grandpa with, that gets a little repetitive. But maybe we could do, that would be kind of fun, like a wheelchair race. And you get to choose which person you're going to help. Or you get to choose, that would be kind of fun, like a quick wheelchair race where you have to drag your finger around the screen in a wheelchair competition. And it's you versus, so your grandpa's in the wheelchair, right, or something like that. You're in the grandpa's in the wheelchair. You get to choose between going with the somewhat looking faster, speedier wheelchair, or your grandpa's old rickety wheelchair that could break down, and maybe that'll be the point. Maybe you'll have his wheelchair break down in the middle, and you can either get, and have his wheelchair break down halfway through, and that's what happens, and you lose. But losing can be just as bonding and just as emotional as winning. When you lose together, it can create almost a stronger bond than when you win together. Because it's that resilience. It builds that resilience with, builds a bond of resilience between the two. We lost, but we can do better next time, Maybe we'll do it twice. Maybe we'll do once his 77th birthday, he'll do wheelchair race, and then the 79th birthday, we'll do it again, and this time you'll be able to win if you choose him. Or not. Maybe you choose the other one and you win and beat out your grandpa, and it creates more of a rift. I don't know. It's just interesting, creating these unique interactions. And again, this is exactly what I said, a mini game that's one-off. Yeah, it's great. But it's an interesting idea. It's a simple, fun little mini game, because I don't want the player to really get into the core gameplays just yet. I want them to experiment with them a little bit, to get familiar with moving your finger up and down the screen or across the screen or something like that. But at the same time, I don't want them to start exploring the world just yet. But maybe I do. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll reconsider that. Maybe I'll reconsider you as a lad getting to explore the area a little bit. I might reconsider that. So Grandpa's inside the house working on something. You're outside with the soccer ball. Friends come along and ask you to come play some games with them. And as soon as your friends finish asking, your grandpa asks you to come help him. Your Your speaking your friends nudge you on to ignore your friends tell you to forget your grandpa and come play with them. And maybe it will be a soccer if they want to play with them, I'm not sure. Come play with them. Who knows? Player does have a choice at this point in the game. So I really like that. So then we're going to move on to Grandpa's 77th birthday. Interactable. It's the annual wheelchair competition. And your grandpa has entered competition with his old rickety wheelchair and wants you to be his engine. Sure, why not? That's kind of fun. Engine. You see Mr. Alright, let's see if we can do this. Alright, let's find this last name generator. this is what we have Magazzini, Donovan, Mr. Donovan. Oh, I kind of like that. I'm probably not going to get it back, but you see Mr. Donovan. It might be a little long. I kind of want to kind of Mr. Wilds. I like that even better. You see Mr. Wilds fancy new wheelchair and think for sure and think you have no chance with Grandpa. No chance. Grandpa. Again, we come back to player can choose, and this time it actually will be choosing between winning or losing, making the player choose between winning or losing. What a terrible thing. I think they always tell you don't ever make the player choose between winning or losing, always make the player win. No. I want the player to lose sometime because that helps build emotion. Now, obviously, we don't want, I don't want this to be a game where they repetitively lose. And by repetitively lose, I mean repetitively die. You can play some games, I think Super Meat Boy is one, where kind of the whole point of the game is to die over and over again until you figure it out. And that's good for that type of a game. I don't want my game to be that way. I don't want this game to be that way. Maybe it will end up being that way. I don't know. Again, we learn as we go. But I don't want from the start for it to be that way. Player can choose. Let's see if I can spell that right. Player can choose between racing with Grandpa or racing with Mr. Wild. If player races with Grandpa, they will break down some on the track and lose. If player races with Mr. Wild, they will win, but will hurt relationship with Grandpa. Okay, perfect. That would be funny if in all three of these interactable events you chose not to go with Grandpa. So you chose to hurt him. So then when Grandpa's 80th birthday comes around, he just says nothing. He doesn't ask you to go get the siblings, and then it's automatic game over. It's kind of mean, and I probably wouldn't do that, but it's just an interesting path to consider when playing this game. So, interesting path to consider. Alright, moving on. And then finally, we're at his almost last birthday. Oops. Grandpa's 79th birthday. Interactable. Again, the annual wheelchair race. We're going to repeat this. It is the annual wheelchair competition. It is the annual wheelchair competition, and your grandpa has entered this competition again with his old rickety wheelchair. Again, it's the same rickety wheelchair, but maybe you'll win this time. And he wants you to be his engine. You see Mr. Wild's fancy new wheelchair and think. And remember, and remember that last time he won. Player can choose again between racing with his grandpa or racing with Mr. Wild if the player races. And so maybe we'll do a little more than because this is going to be the last opportunity. So maybe this will be cinematic interactable. So the first part will be the cinematic, where maybe your grandpa will be in his wheelchair in the office and maybe it'll be a simple, you'll be in your house. Your grandpa will be like, it's almost time for the annual wheelchair race again or something like that. Who knows? Something silly. And he'll be like, oh, but my wheelchair's still broken from the other year. You know? Or maybe instead of 79th, we'll do 78th. And then we'll just skip 79. Or 79 will be a secret unlockable event. I don't know. Who knows? Scripted and interactable. Maybe this one will be interactable. I was thinking maybe you have to help him repair. In this annual wheelchair competition, it is the annual wheelchair and your grandpa has entered this competition once again. Once again with his old rickety wheelchair, but he needs your help repairing it first. Maybe this will be your opportunity to adventure around the village to find the parts to help repair his wheelchair. First, he sends you out to find parts to repair his wheelchair. So you find various parts, the new wheel, and this could be an interesting part where there are actually more parts to be found than what he sends you on. But if you're observant, you can find more, and that helps you in this competition somehow. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too crazy with this beginning part. Find various parts like a new wheel, some duct tape, maybe duct tape, maybe some grease for the wheels, some grease, and maybe the wheel will be required, and the duct tape will be required, but the grease will be optional. Grease optional. New handlebars. Some duct tape. New handlebars, and some optional, and some grease. That's optional, and we'll try to allude that there's more. So maybe when Grandpa goes out, he says, "Hey, I need a new wheel and some duct tape to hold it in place. But if you find any other parts, you're more than welcome to pick them up." And so then you can run across this grease or oil can or something like that. You know, and we could go really fun. We could have you find, instead of grease, we could have you find an oil can. You could pour it on an oil slick for the competitor. So at some point in the game, when you've gotten far enough ahead, he'll say, "Oh, time to put down the oil slick," and he'll just dump it out into the middle of the thing, and the other guy will get stuck on it for a few seconds. I don't know, it'd be kind of funny. That would be kind of fun. So find some various parts like a wheel, some duct tape, some grease, a new handlebar, maybe, or sorry, a new brake lever, and optionally, and some create oil slick. Or you could do something crazy like bananas. That'd be kind of funny, silly. But I want to go more realistic. Optional and implied. A player can choose between racing with Grandpa or, again, racing with Mr. Y. So it's... Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. So what is the point of this? Player gets to finally adventure around the town. Player can find optional items. Again, maybe we'll have the same wagon that you can throw the parts into. Optional items. If player choose so maybe what we'll do is we'll give the player the option to help his grandpa or not. Maybe it'll actually be in-game dialogue. Maybe he'll get the choice to say yes or no. Yeah, I want to help you this year, or no, I don't really want to help you. And then he'll be sad. But what I want to do here is, before I forget, put this down, is for his 79th birthday. 79th birthday, it's scripted. This time, you are going to ask your grandpa flyer for the annual wheelchair race. And maybe we'll have these flyers actually around in some of these other portions. So maybe some of these early snapshots will have a flyer for like, or a poster or something for annual wheelchair race or something like that, or like an image of a wheelchair or something like that in it, and maybe annual costs or something. I don't know. Let's go back to lore. Lore for annual wheelchair race. Flyers for annual wheelchair race. Around the house during the snapshots to activate scenes. I'm pretty certain that's a word I made up, but whatever. Flyers for the annual wheelchair race around the house. Or maybe there's one actually on the tree when you cut it down. A wheelchair race. You start to see maybe you know what it's about. That's cool. I like that idea. Scripted interactable. See a flyer for the annual wheelchair race. Oh no, sorry, this is the scripted one. That was the last one. Interactable. So you can choose whether to player can choose to help grandpa or not. See file and suggest and ask you ask grandpa if he is going to enter again this year, and his response he replies that he's not feeling up to it. He replies that he's not feeling up to it and thinks maybe he has gotten too old for it. That he is going to retire from this. Alright. Point of this scene is show that Grandpa is getting older. Maybe again the fireplace. The fire's dwindling. In the fireplace, it's dwindling, and the firewood is low. So again, implying we're going to bring back that implication, that idea that maybe he's coming to his end too. Maybe his 80th birthday will actually be his last, anyways, whether someone tries to get rid of him or not. Again, maybe the extended family doesn't see him a lot, so they're like, he's 80 years old, he's still alive, this guy's going to live forever. And that's why they want to get rid of him. I don't know. So that Grandpa's getting older. Fire in the fireplace is dwindling. The fire in the fireplace is dwindling, and the firewood is low. Player shows concern / sadness that his grandpa won't race this year, and maybe he makes, comments about that. And that could be some good lore ideas for lore. PC / grandma makes comments about participating annual wheelchair race, and about how it shows you're still strong and full of life. And so maybe this is, this is actually kind of setting up for an interesting sequel, because maybe you do discover in the sequel is now you become tribe leader. I don't know. Again, these ideas all just kind of play into each other. It's trying to keep consistency here. Oops, I'm not looking at consistency here. All right. Well, yeah, let's work on next timeline. So Grandpa's 70th birthday. We have finally 75th, 77th, 75th. So we finally reached Grandpa's 80th birthday. And how is this going to be? Well, we're going to start off a little bit scripted to say it's going to be your grandpa. It's going to be your grandpa. Maybe it'll be someone around the town. Maybe it'll be Mr. Wild talking to you. Maybe you'll be in town. It'll be Wild and you say, hey, isn't your grandpa's 80th birthday coming up? You know, kind of like that idea of scripted / interactable. And this will really kind of be the last fully scripted snapshot right here. I mean, we may do one at the very end of the game. I've not decided yet. But this is really kind of the last scripted snapshot direction I want to go. So I've already got probably way too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got a whole game right here. And scripted snapshots. So we'll probably cut some of it out. I'm not sure. We'll just see how it goes. When I get to storyboarding, we'll see how that kind of goes, the direction I want to take with that. And you'll get to see my ugly stick figures. But I don't think we're going to get to storyboarding tonight. We're in the middle of time. I'm starting to get hungry. So, but you never know. Maybe I'll come back on later tonight. Who knows? So 80th birthday. You're in town. You're in town at the market getting groceries. And we'll actually, you know, again, I always hate it when, oh, we're in town at the market and you're supposed to be getting groceries, but you don't have any groceries. No, we're actually going to have groceries in your cart. And maybe we'll see a little sequence where you're actually picking out stuff from like the stand or something and putting it in your cart. Who knows? Getting groceries. We'll actually have groceries in your cart. Actually have groceries in cart. And you will see Mr. Wild, and he asks you about your grandpa's upcoming 80th birthday and mentions that it's a momentous occasion. So maybe Mr. Wild, so momentous occasion because the town has never a tribe leader lived to 80. Lived to see 80. He asks if you have talked to Grandpa about celebrating this major milestone. And maybe even not that. Maybe he's like the town is going to celebrate it or the tribe. Yeah, Yes, if you're. He asks. He asks if he asks if you have milestone. He mentions that the tribe will. He mentions that the tribe has always gone together. Celebrate. Major milestone. Here. He mentions that the tribe has that the I don't know. I don't know. I'm stumped. He mentions the tribe is always. I was gonna say is to celebrate this such a long-lived leader, but that just sounds wordy. He mentions that the tribe has always gotten together to celebrate. He mentions that the tribe should get together. That he mentions that the whole tribe should get together to celebrate. To celebrate this. I think I'm starting to form a little bit in my head. Sorry, that's why I haven't talked much. So I'm thinking something like um, this while. Then he asks you about your grandpa's upcoming birthday and mentions that mentions that the that the 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 big tribe celebration. The big tribe celebration is coming up very soon to honor your grandpa and his 60 years of leadership. To honor your grandpa to 60 years of leadership, he leadership. He's surprised. He mentions he's surprised. He hasn't seen any of the extended tribe in town yet, and that it's up to the tribe leader to call the family together. That it's the tribe leader's job to call the family together. He hasn't seen any of the extended tribe in town yet. The tribe, and that it's tribe leader's job to call the family together. He then suggests you better hurry on home and make sure your grandpa knows he's got to get the family together. Sure. Mm-hmm. Remembers that. So player heads home and asks. Player heads home. All right, so now we're gonna delineate some of this stuff. So we're gonna do scripted. We're gonna just bold it for now. Interactable, and maybe it's terrible to. Oops. Player heads home after checking out. So if you start to leave, the clerk's going to yell at you and say, "Hey, you can't steal that." And we just won't let you transition out of the screen or something, block you until you go pay for it or something. Right now I'm getting kind of hungry. Scripted, bold. All right, scripted. Upon entering the house, maybe not even scripted. Checking out. Approaches Grandpa. Upon entering, this player reaches Grandpa. Player asks Grandpa about the celebration and getting the whole tribe together. Grandpa, I can't spell as usual. Grandpa jumps out of his seat in surprise because he completely forgot about that. He then asks if you could go out and round up the extended family for him. So this is where your journey, your quest kind of begins for the first world. So you bold, interactable, bold. The player then heads back. The player is now tasked. The player now heads out to round up the rest of the family. And so this will just be for the first part, for the first world. So he'll go round up all the family in the first world, in the first level. So in the immediate area. So outside the town and stuff like that. And then once he's rounded up all the town members and that sort of thing, rounded up all the immediate family, he'll bring them back and say, "Boy, Grandpa, I should round up." He's like, "Son, no, you forgot about the extended family." It's like, "What? The extended family? Yeah. Here's the tunnel. Choose where you gotta go. You gotta visit all of them, or not like you gotta visit all of them, but like, go. You gotta go round up the ice gophers and the mountain gophers and the forest gophers and the beach gophers and the desert gophers and the island gophers and whatever other gophers there could be, the farm gophers, whatever." And then you're like, "Oh my, this is a monumental task." And that's when you go to each world and you start getting your own little stories in each world. And each world kind of becomes its own story in the bigger plot. So the gopher task is really just a way to get you new locations, to get you to go to different locations. Maybe I'll think of a stronger thing later on. But that's kind of the general idea right now. I'd say you're looking pretty good. For this, I think I'm happy with how this is laying out. 80th birthday. I'm happy so far. I might eliminate the 79th one. I like it, but I'm not sure I like it enough to keep it. because I don't like how we go from interactable, interactable, scripted, interactable, and then scripted purely, and then back to scripted, interactable. So maybe I end up combining these two actually. And maybe that's how the story goes: is you see Mr. Wild in the market. He's asked, "Is your grandpa going to enter the wheelchair race again this year?" And you run back to your grandpa and you ask, "Grandpa, are you going to enter the wheelchair race this year?" And he responds, "No, I'm just not feeling like it. How old am I again? 80 years old." And then he realized, whoa, 80, we got to get the whole tribe together. What I'm actually thinking about, and so I am going to do like character profiles on all of these people, and so I'm actually going to start one right now. Unable to connect the server. What? I'm still broadcasting, so it's not me. Okay. Folders. No, doesn't. No. What in the world? Okay. Oh, it went to my personal, that's why. Why did it do that? What in the world? Alright. We're going to go back to me for right now. Get this sorted out. I'm sorry about this. I guess it logged me out. Alright. Alright, we're back. Let's try this again. Create new doc. Character profiles. And so we're going to do Grandpa. And we're going to do some character profiles. Not right now, but I'm just going to start laying them up. Grandma. We can start with player. PC player character. Just for clarity here. Oh, we'll just do player. And actually, what we're going to do is we're going to do internet mode. I don't know if I like that. Alright, Grandpa, and then Mr. Wild. And for Mr. Wild, he's going to be the village historian. Village. Village. Yeah. Village historian. Grandma will be the, he's the tribal leader. We'll do tribe historian. That's a little bit better. Tribe historian. Grandma is the I like because I wanted that she's knitting in something, so I was thinking like the tribal seamstress or something like that, or something to do with cloth and fabric, because I like that idea of knitting in. So kind of plays into a character, but maybe not. We'll see. Um, I don't know. And players just tribal leader. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I was to say, but maybe tribe. Don't. Let's look up. Hold on. Use this. I guess. I. What could she be? Not even. Maybe she didn't have to be this. Maybe she's just something else. Maybe she's um. Ah, a doctor. Why not? That sounds good. I like that. Retired. They're both retired, but they're all retired. Well, I guess the historian. Try doctor type story. Yeah, that works. Works for me. I don't know. I'll flesh out some of these profiles later on. Because the profiles, yeah, we'll flesh them out later on. Another thing. Let's add the folder. All right. Well, that's gonna conclude it for this stream. Thanks for watching. I'm sure it's super exciting to watch as we develop story, but this is how game development works. It's slow. You have a lot of thinking, a lot of writing, and a lot of rewriting. So, but thanks for joining me. Have a great evening.